Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life as Art, and we are broadcasting again from the I'm losing my train of thought. From the November December catalog launch party. So for those of you who are just finding me live on my business page, we are live on my business page, but it is part of the catalog launch party. And I'm just copying the link so that I can go into the event and post the link in the event page. So just bear with me. Facebook is having a time, making it a little difficulty for me to get things done today. So 3:30 p.m. Sorry, I'm just typing, and it's hard to talk and type at the same time. So we're going to be doing a card from the Silver Bells. I'm just going to say it as I type it. Silver Bells Card Making Workshop Kit. Workshop Kit, and we're doing project number 3. So I have to say it as I type it, and let's add the link and post. Did it work? There we go. Okay, so for those of you who are joining me from the event, hello from the business page, and those of you who are joining me on the business page, hello. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you have any questions, be sure to pop them in the comments. And we are having a good look today at the Close to My Heart November, December catalog. We've done a walkthrough, and so now we're doing some crafting. And I apologize that my video is on the vertical orientation. Facebook is not letting me flip to horizontal the way I normally do my videos, and it's just a whole different kettle of fish that's going on today. And tomorrow is the start of our 4-day crop, so I am going to do my darndest to see if I can get set up to do live streaming to YouTube, and that way I can just post the link to the YouTube onto the crop event tomorrow, but it says it sometimes takes up to 24 hours to get that enabled to be able to live stream to YouTube. So fun. Anyway, so Close to My Heart, November, December catalog, and we are looking at the card making workshop kit for Silver Bells. And Silver Bells is a beautiful winter holiday collection. Because I'm working with a vertical, you can't see the whole page, so we'll just kind of go from side to side. It features toffee, charcoal, mink, linen, and white daisy. Beautiful patterns, beautiful embellishments, and so this is the card making workshop kit. So you get a stamp and a thin cut, you get a couple sheets of bulk pattern paper, you get some cardstock, some silver glitter gems, and your card bases and envelopes. And this kit makes 4 cards. 3 are standard size and 1 is a slimline. And I just had to get this because I loved the thin cuts for this collection. Yes, Lynn, we are back. I had to pop out and pick up my daughter from school and had to drop something off at the mail and try and pick up my prescriptions, but they were not ready. So that's life. So we are back. We're doing a 3:30 crop catalog launch party demo, and we are using the card making workshop kit from Silver Bells. So we're going to be working on project 3 today, which is this lovely card right here. It's got some stamping, some die cutting, some inking, lots of fun things happening on there. So when you buy the card making workshop kits that are in the catalog, they come with pre-printed color instructions. If you purchase a special that's just online, that's a scrapbooking kit or a card making kit or an album kit, they don't come with the pre-printed instructions. You have to download and print yourself or use your device or your tablet, your laptop to view them. So this particular one is a Catalogue workshop kit. And so it comes with the pre-printed instructions. It comes in color. It tells you the things that you're going to need. So you need the kit. You need charcoal ink, Rosemary, Toffee, a black pen, some foam tape, blending brushes, a die cut machine, some stamp blocks, a paper trimmer, scissors, glue, and a ruler. And then it also shows you what the cards are going to look like, what the stamp and thin cuts look like. Then you're going to move into the cutting guide. So not only do you have assembly instructions, you have a cutting guide. And so for each piece of paper, it's going to give you cutting instructions. It will tell you which side of the paper you're going to use as the front and which side is the back. And if there's a little asterisk beside any of the project number and letter designations, if there's little asterisks, that means you know you're using the back side, the pattern, the back of the pattern for those particular ones. So it gives you some instructions to start off. Where the scissors are on the cutting guide tells you where the first cut is. The asterisk tells you to the back of the paper. If you see the letter P, that means it's for project. So if it's P1, it's for project 1. Those are useful for the things that will be die cut. A dashed line is a cutting line as well as a solid line. So see how this is a solid, then it turns to a dashed line. That means you're going to cut all the way down. Okay? And it will also tell you how to cut the zip strips. So we've got the 2 pieces of pattern paper. Then we have cutting instructions for all of the different cardstocks. And here you can see P3, P1. Those are Project 1, Project 3, the die cuts that you'll be cutting. And so it takes you through and gives you every single piece of cut paper that you need to do. And then it moves into instructions. And in the instructions, you're going to have a picture of what the completed card looks like. There is also a little hint about where to do your inking. So there's some inking in the background. So it's saying 1/2 inch in, 1/2 inch down. Make a nice inked circle there. Then it also shows you the measurements for where you're going to place your paper, some assembly instructions, and some tips on how to do the different techniques. So we're going to turn to project number 3. Now this kit will make 4 of each of these cards for a total of 16. I'm just going to make 1 today. So we're creating project number 3, and so we're going to be starting with the 3C piece of paper that we've cut. So here are all the pieces that we're going to need for this card. We're going to need our standard size card base, and then we've got 3A. So this is marked on the back side, but that's what it's going to look like on the front. We're going to have 3B, 3C, and then we've got this one that's going to cut a die cut, this one that's going to cut a die cut, this one that's going to cut a die cut, and this one. So we've got some mink and some toffee, rosemary, and some charcoal. And this rosemary is the front side. This side is the back side. So we're going to be die cutting on the front side. The charcoal, same thing. I think all of them, actually. Yes, we're die cutting on the front side. So those are just our pieces that we're going to die cut with. So I'm going to just set those aside for now. We've also got our silver glitter gems on hand. We're going to set those aside because what we want to start with is 3C. And this is a piece of white daisy cardstock. We're going to be using some rosemary ink. So let me just grab that. And we're also going to be using toffee. And of course, that's way down at the bottom of the stack. There we go. So we've got our toffee and our rosemary. We're going to be using a blending brush. So this is my blending brush that I use with all my browns. And apparently it got a little close to my blues. And I'm just checking to make sure we have everything. Now it says a tip. Create the ornament's background color with Toffee ink and a blending brush. The technique. Load the brush with ink by rubbing the bristles on the ink pad. Apply the ink to the cardstock using a gentle circular motion. So I like that they give you all the details, even if you've never done it before. It gives you a clue as to what you should do. So I've got a piece of drawer liner here from the dollar store that my mom gave me, and I'm going to grab my Toffee ink, set that aside for now. We're going to open it up, and that drawer liner keeps my ink from moving around as much while I'm using my blending brush. Now on the instructions for this card, it tells me where I'm going to be putting my stamped sentiment here. It's going to be 1/2 inch up and 1 5/8 in from the right hand side. And then our blended spot is going to be just sort of above and to the right. So the first thing I should probably do is stamp my sentiment. And we're going to be using the May Your Days Be Bright. And that's right here on the stamp set. So we've got our stamp and our thin cuts here. So let me just grab May Your Days Be Bright, and we're going to walk that off the carrier sheet. I just like to use my 2 fingers and just kind of walk it off. And then we can load that on our stamp block. I'm going to move it a little bit closer to me so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. And let me see. Yes, all of this is on the screen. Hey, Mom, nice to see you're watching. So I'm going to come down low here so I can see. I'm also lining it up on my Versamat because it's said to come 1/2 inch up and 1 5/8 in. So 1 4/8 is 1/2. So we're going to come to about there. So 1 5/8 and about 1/2 inch up. I'm way far away from me right now because of this vertical orientation of the camera. So I'm working already about 6 or 8 inches away from myself when I get to the bottom. So let me see, 1 5/8 and about 1/2 inch up. We're going to go right there. And stamp our sentiment. May your days be bright. And I've got my stamp chamois here to wash that off. I don't always have it ready, but I did get it ready this morning. There we go. The long block doesn't always fit. Okay. Now we can take this off. Again, we're going to use that walking motion. That just makes sure that we're not tugging on our stamp because we don't want to stretch it or do anything that might damage it. We want it to last for a long time. And then we're going to do our inking. So we've got our blending brush. We're going to get some ink on there, and you can see I don't have to hold on to my ink pad when it's sitting on that drawer liner. What a fun tip. Now I want to make sure that I don't have oodles of ink on here. So I'm just going to tap it on my lid. I could also tap it on a piece of scrap paper. And I want to just kind of lightly ink, just sort of, I want to say over the shoulder of the stamped sentiment. So we're just going to pick up some ink and add some color into this upper corner, just like that. Can you see that color going? I love that the blending brushes allow you to do such a light blending job. I think I'm going to add a little bit right in the center. There we go. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on when I'm doing that ink blending. I'm just kind of letting it float around on top. So there we go. We've done that. And then the last thing that we need to do is we need to stamp along the bottom. I'll bring in my instructions again. You can see this nice border stamp along here, and that's stamped in the Rosemary. Nice green color. So here's our Rosemary ink. And we're going to get that border stamp. Again, walk, 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 walk. And when you have a long, skinny stamp like this, you're going to lay it down on your Versamat and let it rest for 1/2 minute before picking it up with the block. And that will help it to relax and go back to the proper shape it was. Yes, Laura, I love the detail in the instructions as well. It certainly does help, especially if you're new to working with paper and inks. It's nice to have a little bit of direction, right? Even if you're not new, sometimes just by looking at it, you can't quite suss out what's happening. Now for this, we're going to actually be stamping from side to side. So we're going to go a little bit off. And so that is why I've added a piece of just scratch paper underneath, whatever kind of scrappy bits you've got laying around. Now I have used this stamp set before, so it's been seasoned, but if you hadn't, you would want to rub it on your hand before inking it up, and that helps your inks go on nicely. And now I can't actually see the bottom of my paper because I'm looking at such a strange angle. But we're just going to go ahead and stamp that across. Now, obviously, we didn't get all the way across, so we're just going to move that, ink up our stamp again, and I'm going to have to move it closer to me in order to get this lined up-ish. And there we go. Just extend the stamping across all the way. There we are. So that was not too difficult. Let's give this a wipe with the stamp chamois. Squeaky, squeaky, squeaky clean. May your days be great. There we go. And now we want to go back to our instructions, and it says to prepare the piece shown above. So we've done that. Now we're going to attach 3A. And what are we attaching it to? We're going to attach it to our card base. And our card base comes pre-scored, and so there will be a side that has a dip, or spot where it's been pushed in to score it, and the other side will have the bump, and counterintuitively, it's the bump side that you want to fold to the inside, and it just always works better that way. So fold bump side to the inside. I think a lot of you now hear my voice in your head when you're folding scored cards. Bump side to the inside. It's the opposite of when you whack your head. When you whack your head, you'd rather have a lump on the outside than a dent going to the inside. So yeah, the opposite of that. So then we have our card now folded. We're going to go on the horizontal because this is a horizontal landscape positioned card. Let me see. Can I get both of these in here so we can watch one to the other? Just waiting for the camera to catch up with me. Okay, so there we go. So we're going to go landscape. We're going to add 3A. Now 3A is a pattern paper that kind of works in any direction. But when you look at your pattern, you may see that one way or another looks a little nicer up or down. So I'm going to go with this direction because I've got these lovely bows that are kind of sitting on the tops of them, and they all kind of look like this is the top side. So that's how I'm doing it. You can just judge for yourself when you look at your paper which way would work for you. And so we're just going to add some adhesive on the back. Maybe I'll even do 3, just for good measure. Remove the backing. You can, of course, use liquid glue for this if you prefer. I like the double-sided adhesive, same as what you would get in a tape runner. And then we're just going to line this up centered on that 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base, although in the horizontal it's 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. The next step is we're going to add 3B, which is not that. This is 3B. And so we're going to center that in the middle. And that is our next step on the instructions, is to attach 3B. So it tells you to attach it, and then you just look at the instructions for placement. So this one says that we're coming 3/8 of an inch in from the left and 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. But that technically puts it in the middle. So if you're good enough just eyeballing the middle of your card, then you can do that. Otherwise, you can line it up on your Versamat, and you can go 3/4 of an inch up and 3/8 of an inch in, and that should put us in the center of our card. Just like that. Now we need to attach prepared 3C with thin 3D foam tape. Now let me just see if there we go. I have thin 3D foam tape. The great thing about thin 3D foam tape is that it's half the thickness of the regular foam tape. And so if you're planning on popping this in the mail, that will take less postage. It won't get as bulky. So let's go ahead. This is a brand new one. And yes, the thin foam tape is back in stock, or at least it was when I bought this. So let's add some foam tape to the back. I'm going to use our non-stick scissors to snip this. And I always just kind of put a bit in each corner, and I kind of go around the corners so that each piece is going sort of up one side or another. And then we can add a couple extra little bits on these long sides. You can add some in the middle. I don't think it's necessary on this card. Who likes doing that with their foam tape? Just kind of going around the outside. Or do you prefer doing the, lots of strips of foam tape so that it's all covered? I know some people cut craft foam and glue it on so that it is a solid bit of foam on the back, but I find, especially for cards, this works just dandy. And we're going to center this inside the rosemary. Hopefully centered. I'm at such a weird angle. I will never know until I look at it later if it's actually centered. So there we go. And then we have some die cutting to do. So let me move this aside. I'm going to bring in my die cutting machine. And let me grab the bits and pieces here. These are the pieces we're going to die cut. These are the thin cuts. And whatever machine you use. And whatever sandwich you use on your machine. So now, because I've got all these little pieces of paper already cut per the directions, I can probably put a few of these on my machine and cut them all at the same time. So let me see if I can get this in the frame of the thing, maybe. I'm going to put my charcoal on here. Now, some people like to use a magnetic plate. Some people like to use washi tape. Because I'm going to do it carefully, I'm just going to put it on there. And then I also need my toffee. And on the toffee, we're going to be cutting one of the little ornaments, like so. The charcoal had the little bow on it. Then on the rosemary, we're going to be cutting a couple of the little sprigs, like so. And so I'm going to run that through, and then I'll have to run the other ornament through too, because we're cutting 2 ornaments for this. So then I'm just going to put my plate on and run it through. If you're ever worried that something's not going to cut enough, you can always run it back and forth a couple times. Mine always seems to cut pretty good. It's usually the more intricate ones that are a little bit tricky. And I'll just scooch that aside for a second. So now you can see we've got our little die cuts there and there. So you can see it cut out there. If you've never seen die cutting before, it's kind of fun. It's a fun process. And then we've got our little ornament. We've got our bow. And I always need this because my plate is so chopped up, just to make sure we got all the bits. Okay, now all you got to do is go for the little holes there and pop your die cut out, just like that. Super simple. So there's our bow. And the tip of the day is have your magnetic sheet handy. I usually, even if it's still in the plastic, I just have it sitting close by. And then as soon as I'm done with the die, I just throw it back on there so that nothing gets lost. And then this little guy If the pieces don't just fall out, you can stab them out, poke them out with the pokey tool, the piercing tool, but quite often you can just kind of flick them, although that usually makes them go everywhere, but you can make lots of fun confetti that way. And if they don't come out of the die, just give them a quick little poke. There's lots of different tools you can get to do that kind of stuff. Poke, poke, poke. So there's that die. And then our little greenery. Just pop that out. They're so delicate and cute. Look at that. Little greenery. Definitely throw those back on the magnetic sheet, because these ones like to go missing. And there we go. There's our last little greenery. And then we need to cut out that ornament again using the mink cardstock. So let me just scooch that out of the way. Bring this back. And we'll pop that on here. Run it through. Like that. And there we go. Just get rid of any of the little bits. And I always store my plates right in my machine, and I find they don't warp on me when I do that. So that's the way I do it. I know a lot of people store them separately. It's a personal choice. Pardon me. Okay, so we've got our little bits. Let's pop this guy out. There we go. Oh, look at that. All the little pieces came out, no problem. Okay, put that back on the magnetic sheet. And we're going to bring back our card. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Going to take a sip of water. Yes, Lynn, that plate has been used lots and lots. I have had my machine for probably 15 years, 14, 15, somewhere around there. And that's only the second set of plates that I've had for my machine. So it has seen a lot of use. At some point, I'm going to switch the top one that looks nice and clean and make it the bottom one and bring in a brand new one, because I do have a new set. I just haven't got there yet. Haven't switched it out yet. Okay, so for this ornament, one of the instructions here says, attached P3 ornament, branch, and bow die cut accents as shown. Tip, attach the mink ornament to the toffee ornament slightly offset. So what that means is we're going to take our toffee ornament and we're going to take our mink ornament and we're going to kind of line it up, and then we're going to just shift it a little bit like that. So then you can see, pardon me, the toffee showing through, creates a kind of a little shadow, makes everything look a little bit 3D, super fun. Now, if you would prefer, you can even cut multiples of the same color and stack them up so you get some thickness. Quite often people will do maybe 3 in order to do that. So what I'm going to do to glue these together is I'm going to use my liquid glue and I'm going to stick it on my hand. You know, it's not something that most people do, but it's one thing that I have been teaching people to do. So we're going to hold this in our hand. We're going to take this one and we're just going to lightly tap it into that glue that's on my hand. And as I tap it into the glue, parts of it are actually tapping off on my hand as well. So that kind of limits the amount of glue that actually stays on this die cut. And then we're going to come over here. I like putting my hands on either side. Oops, maybe that's not going to work for this time. We're going to line it up and then we're just going to slightly offset it. So it always helps to line it up first and then do the little shift and then stick it down. And then you can see there that we have that little toffee shadow of the ornament in behind and only a tiny little bit of glue kind of smooched out on the bottom there. So then what you can do is you can grab a tissue, wipe the glue off your hand. However, we're going to use more glue. So I guess we didn't really need to do that. So now we're going to be attaching all of our little bits. So this ornament's going to go right over top of that little glowy spot that we used with to created with our blending brush. I'm going to grab my tweezers. I was going to grab my tweezers. Let me look. I might have taken them with me on the retreat this past weekend. So, yes, I did. They're in my little tool kit that I take with me. So let's start with the ornament. We're going to add a little bit of glue to our hand, like that. We're going to take our ornament. We're going to do the same process where we just tap, tap, tap into the glue. And then we're going to place it on our card, like so. Maybe a little bit over. Lovely. And then we can take our little branches of rosemary, do the same treatment, tap, 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 and we can tuck them under before everything gets kind of solidified down. That's the great thing about liquid glue. Again, tap, tap, tap into the glue. Add another little sprig of rosemary evergreen. And then we have our bow. We can do the same thing. We're going to use pretty much all our glue during this process. And we're going to attach it so that the knot of the bow is right on that circle at the top of the ornament, where normally you would have a hook hanging. And we're just going to push that down. Again, we can wipe our hand off. If you don't wipe your hand off, then later on you could do that fun little thing that school kids like to do, where they put glue on their hand and then peel it off and be like, ooh, look at my skin. I'm peeling my skin off. Yes, Mom, this little die, super cute. I think it could be used for all sorts of things. Birthdays and, you know, ornaments. Creating like little swaggies with little bows. So many different things, even, you know, on a candy cane or on just about anything. A wreath. Lots of different things. Okay, so now it says embellish with glitter gems. So we've got our silver glitter gems here. When they come in the pack, you have large ones and you have small ones. And I find the easiest way to pick up my glitter gems is with my piercing tool. So I just scoop the point of my piercing tool right underneath it and it sticks right to that tip. So you can kind of move it around and see where you want to put it before you stick it down. Because frankly, my sausage fingers would not pick that up and get it in the right spot. I just wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. Whereas this, I can see where I'm putting it and I can just plunk it right where I want it. So then we've got a larger one here and we're just going to stick it right there. And then one more, we're going to stick down here just a little bit offset like so. And that gives us a trio of bling, which we like. We like making triangle shapes. And we have now created project number 3 from the Silver Bells card making workshop kit. And there it is. So we've got our white daisy card base. We've layered it up with that beautiful pattern paper. And then our rosemary and white daisy cardstock that we inked with our blending brush and Toffee. Stamped our sentiment, stamped our little greenery strip. Then we layered up those die cuts one on top of the other to create that beautiful shadowy look. And then a few little sprigs of greenery to match our border, as well as a bow and some bling. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that card come together and feel inspired for making some Christmas cards of your own. And we will be back on, let me just check the time. We'll be back on at 4:30 for another crafting live. So we will see you then. All right, toodaloo. Bye.